And welcome back, Year 10, to Coronavirus, Day 7, and we are still looking at the USA topic, most importantly, Theme 2, religion and race. Now, this bit here, we're focusing on the religion side today. Oh no, what's happened? I haven't even underlined my... what a numpty. Come on. Got to underline those titles and headings, otherwise bad things will happen. Okay, so now this sun is quite literally blinding, and I might get a sunburn here, but bear with me. So we're looking today at this thing here called the monkey trial, and we're going to answer the question, what does the monkey trial teach us about America? Okay, that's what we're going to be looking at today. But as with everything, we can't forget all the information we've learnt, because that is quite literally the opposite of good education. So let's give these a whirl, okay? So thank you very much to those students who have been sending me the pictures of their work. It's really, really good, because then it obviously means that I can actually mark it and give you help. So those are the questions. Pause the work now to give yourself time to actually answer them. Okay, and here are the answers. Right, so what we're looking at, okay, question 1, what does this describe? A group of religious fundamental southern states. That is the Bible Belt, the old Bible Belty. Now, next question, what did religious fundamentalists dislike about America? Well, they disliked the loose morals. Now what that means is loose morals. Morals is sort of the thoughts and how you behave. Loose, not very good. So your behaviour is not very good. So this means that they were gambling and they were drinking, and women's behaviour in their eyes wasn't perfect. So this meant women were going out, women were dancing, women were wearing short skirts. Remember that pervert who was measuring the girls' dresses? Bit weird, but that's what they did. So what did religious fundamentalists follow literally? Remember, literally means to the letter. So in terms of our school, if you're walking on the left, if you are literally walking on the left, your foot is not touching that middle line, and you'll be getting a comment, okay? So in this case, it was the Bible, or the Bible. So who had their house attacked and then arrested? 6,000 communists. Some may say that was a bit of an overreaction. Some would say not enough. That man's name was Mitchell Palmer. Now, he wasn't just some random guy off the street. He was the Attorney General. Sorry, just drinking some coffee there. Why was Sacco and Vanzetti important? They were Italian communist immigrants. So they're important because they're communists and they're immigrants. And this then tells us a little bit about how they're treated. And they're unfairly executed because there wasn't enough evidence, really, to execute them. So the fact they were executed shows xenophobia and the Red Scare. That's what that chicken scratch is meant to say. So next question, what did Henry VIII, that's how we do it in Roman numerals, 5, 6, 7, 8, do of historical importance to heresy? So this is him, remember, he changed the religion, the Reformation. He went from a Catholic country to a Protestant. So anyone that was Protestant here was a heretic. Anyone that was Catholic there is a heretic. So overnight, you've instantly become a criminal. So this rapidly increased heresy for the next few years. And remember, when we're talking about treason, we need to be talking about heresy as well, because they're linked. Alright, the next one, what did the laws or acts that followed, that allowed, more political parties in the USSR and helped end the Cold War? That was glasnost. Remember, that's the opposite, not the opposite, but it's the thing that goes alongside perestroika. Who was the person in charge of local policing in the medieval era at first? Then who took over from him? It was a man at this time. So it was the Shire Reeve at first, and then in 1326 we have the Justice of the Peace. Okay? Remember, a large proportion of change at this point is created because of the Battle of Hastings and the change, the Norman Conquest. The fact that William the Conqueror comes in, doesn't like things, changed it up. right? Just like anyone does when they change, when they become king. What does Adolf Hitler do to religion? This one's going to be tricky. I don't think we've recorded this enough, so I'm going to try and record it over the next few weeks. And then what did these groups do in return? Right, so basically he wanted to control the religion. Right, so him controlling them meant that they had to have swastikas everywhere, they had to do the Nazi salute, they had to teach lessons or sermons or preach in line with Nazi ideas, so they weren't allowed to say anything good about Jewish people, for instance. They had to say only good things about Adolf Hitler. He also didn't like the Catholic Church because it had the Pope in charge, and Hitler's a bit of a maniac, so he thinks anyone that is in a higher state of power than him has got to go. So he created his own church, and then in retaliation, the other religion is created the Confessional Church by a man called Martin Niemöller or Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and Bonhoeffer attempts to assassinate him. Okay, now on we go to the main breadth of the lesson. Now what I'd like you to do, because obviously I'm not there to make sure you're all making your notes properly, so what I'd like to introduce is this thing here. It's a way of note taking. So what I'd like you to do is to set your page out like this. So you can put the title, monkey title, and then draw a line down, so you've got a small gap here, and what you're going to write here is main ideas and key terms, but you can do that later when I tell you to. For the main body of your lesson, you're going to be writing in this section here your notes. Right, so any keywords, any important dates, anything that you think you need to remember needs to go in here. And then leave a little bit at the bottom for a summary. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to make notes in here for the main part of the lesson. Then when I tell you to, you're going to cover that up and try and recall the main themes. So you're remembering, you're thinking. That's what this is all about. And then a couple of days later, I'd like you to go back to it and summarize everything. Okay, so that's how I'd like you to set your work out now. Pause it, give yourself a chance to do that. You might want a couple of coloured pens as well, because I always like to write in one colour, and then when I think something's really, really important, I write it in the second colour to make it pop. I'm all about that pop. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to be looking at the monkey trial. So the monkey trial is really, really important, okay? So monkey trial. Now a trial is deciding if they did something. So you can have, this is when you decide if someone's innocent or guilty. So if they did it or didn't. So for instance, if I heard one of you talking and then I started questioning you whether or not you did, I'm holding a trial. If I find out you didn't do it, you're innocent. If you did do it, you're guilty. And obviously that's when I chop your hand off, because you can't be doing that in my lessons. It's rude. Okay, so what I'd like you to do now is I would like you to have a think about what the two trials we have looked at, so we've learned that we used in the medieval period. So what you can then do is also draw two pictures to show these. Right, so pause it to give yourself a chance to actually answer it. Okay, great. Now time for my amazing artwork. So what I would have drawn is this here. So that's one. And then I'll move this down so we can get a better look. And then I would have drawn this here. So we've got a fire here. We've got some water. Ah! That's what you're screaming. Okay, so what are those two things called? Right, that's right, we've got the trial by combat, because they're fighting to see if they won, and the trial by ordeal. Okay, ordeal means going through something, often painful. So for instance, I would say teaching year 10 is an ordeal. Every lesson is a trial by ordeal to see if I survive, because they're wild. Well, at least I'm making myself laugh. Okay, so what we're going to be looking at is this monkey trial here. Now, as with anything, you've got two sides. Now what we're going to look at is those two sides. Remember, don't forget to be making notes on that right hand side of your page. So what were the two sides? We have the theory, so that's the idea, of creationism. Now on the other side we have the theory of evolution. Now, creationism, creation means to make. So you create something in art, you create work in history. Okay, so you make something. Now, what this is referring to is God creating or making. I'll move this down a little bit. Move that. Creating or making the earth. In how many days? 7 days. Okay, well, he does it in 6, but then has a little rest on Sunday, because even God, even he needs a little bit of a break. And this is when we're looking at Adam and Eve. So remember, he makes Adam and Eve in his own image. He actually creates humanity as they are. Okay, so that's really, really important. As they are. So there they are, having a little smile before they eat the apple. Silly people. Okay, now, the theory of evolution, however, evolution, to evolve is to change. Okay? So, history lessons are more like evolution, because you're evolving, you're adding, you're learning lesson by lesson, you're slowly changing. You're not just created as amazing historians, you become an amazing historian by putting in the effort and by listening to me. Alright, so this is that geezer called Charles Darwin. Okay, he is the man who creates the theory of evolution, and what this means is we evolve over millions of years, mainly looking at going from apes to men. Now, I am sure you'd probably agree that there are quite a few people who are probably more ape than man. So this is a few pictures to help you. So we've gone from a small creature without any legs to evolve those legs, and then we might start having a little wander, getting a bit straighter, until there we are, humans. So we've slowly gone, we've slowly changed, we've slowly evolved. So this is evolution, this is creationism. Okay, now what I want you to think about, let's try and remember our information from last lesson, which was believed in the Bible Belt. Which was believed in the Bible Belt? Creationism or evolution? Have a think about it. Ding, ding, ding. Correct answer. It is the theory of creationism. Well done. Now, why is that? Why are they believing in the theory of creationism? Right again, well done. It is because they are religious fundamentalists. Why do religious fundamentalists believe in creationism? Why do they believe in creationism? Yeah, it says it in the Bible. Okay? It says it in the Bible. So if it says it in the Bible, it must be true because they take it literally. Okay? They take it literally. Now, what I'd like to do is I would like to just quickly have a look at what I would have done when I was making notes there to help you out, okay? So, for your note taking, this is what I'm talking about, okay? Remember, we're on the right hand side of the page because we're going to come back to this later, and we're going to come back to the bottom later. So here I would have talked about religious fundamentalists, loving the Bible, and I would have mentioned creationism and evolution, remember really key points we need. I would mention Bible, God, 7 days. And remember, notes isn't just about you shouldn't be writing everything I say, because you need to be listening as well. Just write the key bits. So Bible, God, 7 days. So looking at that, you know, creationism comes from the Bible because God created the world in 7 days. Evolution is about apes to men. That's it. Okay? So the rest of it is what I do for the next bit. Okay? So, what we're going to look at now, as I turn the page. Okay, so we're going to look at why this becomes really, really important. Okay, because at the moment it's just two ideas, but now we need to make it concrete. So, in 1925, there was something created called the Butler Act. Now, this isn't a law to make, all butlers legal or anything like that. This is just named after the person that creates it. But what this actually does is this changes education. It changes education and makes teaching evolution illegal. Okay? It makes teaching evolution illegal in 6, so not everywhere, but in 6 of the Bible Belt states. Okay? So evolution is now illegal in 6 of the Bible Belt states. Alright? Now, what we're going to be looking at is a man called John Scopes. So that's a really, really important piece of information that we need to make sure we've got, because we're going to keep coming back to this. Okay, I'm going to be asking you questions about who John Scopes is constantly, so you need to make sure you know. Now, he is a biology teacher. Now, the way I remember his name is he's a science teacher, so he's always carrying a microscope. Microscope. That's how I'd remember his name. Okay? Right. Now, he is really, really upset about the Butler Act. He hates the Butler Act. Hates the Butler Act because it makes teaching what he believes illegal. Now, he is in a state called Tennessee. Right? All the N's and all the S's. So he's in Tennessee, and he loves teaching evolution. Loves it. You know some of our teachers. Mr. Ray absolutely loves teaching evolution. I've seen him. He teaches it on when he's at home to his kids. Absolutely loves evolution. Can't get enough of it. So he's angry. So he decides, nah, I'm not going to follow that, and he teaches evolution. Okay? He teaches evolution. He teaches this. So he's breaking the law. But he's crafty, old Scopes. He knows why he's breaking the law. He wants to break the law. He thinks if he breaks the law, he'll get a trial, which he thinks he'll win, and he'll change the country. Okay, now what I want you to do is I want you to answer these questions here. Right? So why did he break the law? Okay, why did he break the law? Then I want you to think about what would he have been guilty of in the 16th century in the UK? And what would his punishment be? Right, pause it, give yourself time to answer those questions. Okay, well, he broke the law because he loves evolution. He hated the Butler Act. He hated the Butler Act and he wanted it changed. So he wanted to change things. He would also argue that freedom of expression and freedom of religion means that he should have been able to teach it. What would he have been guilty of in the 16th century? Heresy and treason. So what would his punishment have been? Well, his punishment for heresy would have been burning at the stake. Okay. Now, I know you're not great fans of the crime and punishment topic, but remember, we can't just forget everything. If we forget it, what's the point? Okay. Now, what we're looking at now is he wants to fight religious fundamentalists. Okay? So him teaching the evolution is fighting religious fundamentalists. And what we have is something called the monkey trial. So now we're getting onto the actual main bit of the lesson now. Remember, I'm actually going to give you, pause it now and give yourself a chance to make some notes on that right hand box. Okay, so pause it now and give yourself however many seconds you need to go through them, but don't just read everything you've just done. Or go through the thing, I mean. Okay, so we now have the monkey trial. So remember, we've looked at why it's called a trial. Have a think about why you think it's called the monkey trial. Yeah, that's it. It's because it's fighting over evolution, fighting whether or not evolution is okay. So, trial, we have the man himself, we have the judge, and there's his wig. I really wish I could wear a wig like that for school. And he's got his gavel. Oh, that'd be amazing. I would absolutely love to teach with the gavel. He does have 2 arms, doesn't he? Now, on one side we have the defence, and on the other side we have the prosecution. What that means is they're accusing someone, they're saying, you did it. They're trying to prosecute someone. Now we have, for the defence, we have the man himself. Who is it? Who is it that is defending himself because he taught evolution? That's it, that's John Scopes, okay? I drew the microscope there to help you. Now he also has, because he's not a lawyer, he's just, well, I don't want to say just a teacher, because teachers are the best things in the world. How dare you say anything different, Mr. Halpin? We now have his lawyer, Clarence Darrow. Now a way you could kind of remember that, although this is a bit of a stretch, is Darrow. Sounds like Darwin. Darwin, evolution. This is the side of evolution. Okay. Now, on the other side, we have a man called William Jennings Bryan. And he is working for the state of Tennessee, because that was where Scopes taught evolution. And on this side we have creationism. Okay, right now, just answer the question: why is it called? Why is the defence fighting for evolution, and why are the prosecution fighting for creationism? Okay, so because they truly believe in evolution, it's because John Scopes taught evolution, and it's because William Bryan is a religious fundamentalist. Okay. Now, quick bit of information you don't 100% need, but I think it's quite interesting. William Bryan actually ran for president just before just at the end of the 19th century. So what does this tell you about religious fundamentalists? What does this tell you about religious fundamentalists? Just have a think, pause it to give yourself time. Yeah. Okay, so if he runs for president and he's a religious fundamentalist, well then clearly religious fundamentalism is popular. It's not just in the Bible Belt. Yeah, that's the most important bit, but it is elsewhere. Okay, it is elsewhere. It's not just here. That's where it's strongest, but it is elsewhere. Now, he actually was on the Democrat. He was a Democrat, which is the same party as Barack Obama, just to show you how sort of the parties do change. Okay, now, the two sides. So you've got evolution on one side, you've got creationism on the other. Now, this side, we're basically trying to argue, is the Bible right. And they were just arguing, did he teach evolution? Because if he taught evolution, he broke the law. What they were trying to argue is that the law is stupid. Bible should not be the only thing taught. So what they did is they were talking about biblical stories. So for instance, they were mentioning the fact you had the Noah's Ark. So they'd be talking about Noah's Ark. Here's a giraffe, that's meant to be an elephant. Awful. So they're talking about, okay, if the Bible says all the animals were on one boat, all animals in the world were on one boat, and it flooded for 40 days, so think about how much food they'd need on that boat, and try and think about a lion not eating a rabbit. Okay, so they were basically saying, this Bible, this story, you can't take literally. You can't believe in this literally, because you cannot. Try imagining building a boat with two of every single animal on. Also, there's some animals that are there in Australia but not in America. So where was this boat made? So they were trying to argue that this was, you can't believe in it fully. Whereas Brian, a religious fundamentalist, was saying, yes, you can. That is 100% truth. So they were trying to make creationism or fundamentalism sounds stupid. Now, I'm not saying it is, okay, before you get offended. I'm just saying that's what they thought, or that's what they were trying to show. Okay? Then, what I want you to do now is, I want you to think about, who do you think won? Who do you think won and why? Alright, so pause it, give yourself time to think about it. You can write an answer down. Who do you think won and why? Okay, so who actually won was Brian, or William Jennings Bryan, who was creationism. So they actually won. Scopes and evolution was fined $100. Okay, so he lost and then he had to pay for it. So he's really, really upset. However, later that then gets overturned, so he still loses, but he doesn't have to pay the money. So he's not too gutted. And then what actually happens is in 1926, Mississippi bans evolution. So they have their own act that banned evolution. What was the act that we looked at in 1925 that banned the teaching of evolution in 6 Bible Belt states? Yeah, similar to 1925, Butler Act. Okay, the Butler Act. And then in 1920, and then we also have, okay, so we also then have, Arkansas banning it as well. Okay, so we also have Arkansas banning it as well. And this was in 1928. Okay, so this was in 1928. So by the looks of things, creationism won. Now what I want to do is think about, were you right? Did you guess them? Why did you guess them? Or if you didn't guess them, why were you wrong? Okay, why were you wrong? Pause it to give yourself time to think. Yeah, it's because religious fundamentalism was strong. Okay, so they genuinely believed in the Bible and that you had to teach it. Okay, right, but often court cases aren't quite as easy as this. It's not just about what happens in the court case, it's about what happens elsewhere. So I've just got to move everything because the sun is being an absolute nightmare and moving around. How dare the earth rotate? What's that about? Ridiculous. Okay, so what did other people think? What did the rest of the country think? This was in the Bible Belt. What did these think? Have a think. Do they agree? Do they think Scope should have won? Do they think Brian should have won? Do they think creationism is good? Evolution's good? What do they think? Okay, they thought Brian and what side was he on? Creationism. Looks silly. They thought the fact that they were arguing over the fact that every animal in the world was put on a boat, they thought that seemed silly. And they thought that Brian wasn't able to come up with an answer for it. When Scopes and Clarence Darrow were talking about Noah's Ark, instead of Brian trying to argue why he was right or why it could be possible, he was just saying, it's in the Bible, must be true, it's in the Bible, don't talk to me, it's in the Bible. Obviously that's not quite how it worked, but that's what they thought was going on. Okay, so they thought it made him look silly, and it weakened religious fundamentalism. Elsewhere. Okay, right now pause it and give yourself time to sort of make sure that you've got as many notes as you think you need on everything we've looked at so far. Okay. Now, what I'd like you to do now is I would like you to create a timeline of everything we've looked at so far. Sorry about my hand. Right, so you could take here, you could take the all of your page here. Alright, and timeline of everything we've looked at in the USA topic. Okay, so I'd start that in 1910, which is where we actually start, and then I'd end it in 1929. You could actually, if you did this on a easy, like say at the back of your exercise book that you're working on at the moment at home, you could actually add to this as you're going on. Right, so just give that a go, pause it, give it a go. In a second I'll give you a few hints to help you, but I want you to try and really engage your brain now and think about everything we looked at without looking at any notes. Okay, so just off the top of your head. Okay, so here are some dates or key dates that I want you to put in. So some of them will be going over a few periods because obviously some things don't happen in one year, they continue. Okay, so I'd like you to add those in. Alright, so just pause it and see what you can add to those. Obviously, don't just give me the bare bones. Try and add a little bit more information. Say what they are. So say what the things are. Why they're important. Who is involved. Who is affected. Why it's significant. Okay. Okay, there's some more. I've just added also 2 more dates. So try and match these up to the right dates. Don't forget, don't just add them in, add a little bit more information. This is where that second colour might come in handy. So for instance, if you've got a green, what you can do is, after you've spent a couple of minutes trying to think of everything, go through your booklet that you've all got at home and try and add anything else that's really, really important. Okay? Alright, now what I'd like you to do is I would like you to turn back to the note page that you're working on all lesson. Okay? So what you should have is notes on one side, key ideas on the there, and then here a summary. So we're not writing anything in there just yet. Now what I'd like you to do, okay, is I would like you to cover this up and try to remember the key ideas or the key terms from the lesson. Now the idea behind why we're doing this is because basically what you need to do is you need to try and condense this into smaller information to go into your brain. So then what we can then do is then when we go to the summary next lesson, or when you go to the next lesson, what you can do is try to remember everything we've looked at next lesson, and instead of just reading all of this, use this to jog your memory. Okay? So it's so much better if we can have one key word that jogs all of this memory than reading all this again. Because the idea is sort of we condense this down in our brain, so then all we need to think of is the monkey trial, and we remember all this, instead of thinking creationism, evolution. Okay, so try that now. Don't forget to pause it, obviously, otherwise it's just waiting. Yes, what I'd do is, obviously, monkey trial, evolution, creationism, religious fundamentalism, Scopes, Brian, and what else are we thinking? I think that's probably it. I mean, what you could do is mention the Bible Belt as well. Okay? Great. Now, what I would like you to do is, I would like you to now answer the key question of the lesson. Alright? What does the monkey trial tell us about America? Okay, remember to be fully developing your explanation. So this means that is a key phrase to be using. Because remember that game we play where you turn to each other and you ask each other so or why? That's what you need to be doing in your writing. So the monkey trial tells us about America that they love blah blah. Okay, that's it. I've written one sentence, that's fine. No, it's not. Ask yourself, so, why is that important? Why is that important? Oh, well, this means that. Boom. Alright. Pause this, give yourself some time to answer it. Ideally, I'd write you to write 2 points, so get a really, about just under half a page written there. Right, and I'd like you to include these keywords, okay? I'll add a few more. So ridicule, well that means it's sort of laughed at to make look silly. So often you ridicule me in class because, well, quite frankly, you're all rude. Yeah, it hurts my feelings, makes me cry every single lesson, and I don't think I can cope anymore. Okay, there you go. Try and include all those keywords. Make sure you've given it a go. Now what I'd like you to do is, some people in the class at the moment are really good at sending me pictures of what they're doing, and it's great because then I get to see how you are carrying on. Okay, so if you're able to, because I know some people have devices, some people don't, send a picture of what you have worked on to me. Okay, really important that you do that. Okay, I'll be putting a few GCSE pods on to make sure you're working through. I'll also send you a document with a few multiple choice questions to make sure that we're assessing how we're getting on, because otherwise, obviously at the moment, with not being in school, this is great to help us, but there is a negative with this. Not being there able to fully assess what you're doing, ask all the questions and hear the answers. Some of you may be going on completely the wrong lines. So we need to make sure you're sending me something. So a multiple choice question could be great at that, but you need to make sure you're answering your emails, okay? Alright, stay safe. have a lovely time. Great lesson year 10. Much better when you're not actually here and you're not able to laugh at me. I like that. Okay, well, it wouldn't be me without a slight mistake. What I forgot to do was tell you what you need to do with this bit is wait a couple of days, probably two days I'd say. Then what I'd like you to do is try to remember everything from this lesson and write it here. Okay, so summarise it, bring it down into its most important points, and I would like you to tell me what happened in this box. Okay, I'll remind you to do it on the next video, but obviously if you don't do the next video until a week, it's going to be really tricky to do this. So what I'd like to do is try and remember it. Then what I'd do, say if you think you've written everything, to check it, or if you think you've missed something, what I'd like you to do is first cover this, read these, see if they jog your memory. Okay, so try and include each of these in your summary at the bottom. Then go back to it, write as much as you can, and then when you've done that, read through this, and then go back and answer anything more. Okay, ideally you do this in two colours. One colour first equals your brain, what you can remember. Second colour can be using key terms, and then third, reading notes, because what that then means is anything in this third colour you need to check. And what I'd like you to do, and what you should be doing, is then going over that information in purple and in blue, or whichever colours you used. Okay, because that's taking ownership of your own work, and that is then focusing your work. Because here, okay, yeah, you may need to revise this at some point, but not straight away. That's not where your mistakes are, it's here. Okay, so you can do that in a normal way. Mind maps, brain dumps, that's just remembering everything you can. Revision questions, going back over the information, using your booklet. Anything that makes you think about the information is going to work there. Alright, stay safe.